Good morning, Jim Laird joining you live from Deer Elm, Nicaragua. Letting me get going on Instagram here. Hope you're doing well today. I thought it was Sunday today. I lost track of time. So we're doing good. Um, had a great weekend, had a lot of fun. Let's dive right into the topic. Good morning to everyone on Instagram. Solar Callus 101, a natural approach to sun tolerance. Full disclaimer, I'm obviously not an MD. Okay. I worked for an MD for the last 3 years. I've trained a lot of MDs, worked with a lot of MDs, but I'm not one. So I'm going to give you, this is based on my own experience. I'm going to give you basically a step-by-step way to figure out how to get more sun in your life and how much sun you really need. And that's totally individual. Some people need less, some people need more. Obviously, if you have darker skin, you're going to need more. As you get older, you don't make as much vitamin D. So you're probably going to need a little more sun exposure. So 97% of people in the United States or the majority of people in the United States spend 97% of their day indoors. Okay. This is a big problem. I've talked about broken circadian rhythm and how I think it's really the root driver. I don't think it's the only cause, but I think it's the big root driver of the obesity epidemic in the US. Obviously, food is a big part of that. Being completely sedentary, sitting in front of a screen all day, but living under fake light all day, not getting outside. Just put in ChatGPT the effects of circadian rhythm disruption, the effects of sleep deprivation, and you will see that alone will turn you into a diabetic. Okay. Then you look at like 50% of people in the US have vitamin D deficiency. One of the main reasons for getting outside is to make vitamin D. Okay. So what happens if you were like me back in, I don't know what year it was, maybe the mid like 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in there. And you're working indoors from 5 a.m. till 8 p.m. You never go outside. When you do, you wear sunglasses. I would go outside, my eyes would water. How do you take yourself from that to now somebody who lives on the equator who can go all day without wearing sunscreen and gets a nice deep dark tan? How do you go from that to that? And you don't have to go to my extreme. Obviously, you have an autoimmune disease. Vitamin D is essential in combating autoimmune diseases. So obviously, you might need a little more sun. So that's all going to be individualized, right? So number one, the first thing that you need to do, this is just like training. So if you understand adaptation from a training standpoint, you should understand adaptation from any standpoint. You don't go from sitting in an office all day to laying on the beach all day. Right. And even if you do have a good solar callus, you don't lay on the beach all day. When you feel like you've had enough sun, you go in the shade, right? Common sense. Just like my dogs, they go lay in the sun for half an hour. They know they got enough. They lay in the shade. Same kind of deal, right? So you start with morning and evening, and the morning and the evening builds your tolerance to sun in the afternoon. A good way to track how much sun you need is an app like D-Minder. It takes your skin type into account. It tells you when the UV is out. It tells you how much vitamin D approximately you're making. So that's a really good way, but you don't want to start full blast. You want to start with mornings and evenings. The most important time of the day is the morning. That's what sets your clock. That's what sets your hormones. So you want to get out in the morning. You want to get your eyes in the light. And I know a lot of people aren't going to have the ability to not have a lot of clothes on throughout the day. You do the best you can. Maybe in the evening, you're able to sit outside with your shirt off. Maybe in the morning you can for 10, 15 minutes. You start with that. You do the best you can. You don't throw it completely out the window because you can't sit outside naked. You do the best you can. You start where you are, right? So the things that I did, I canceled my morning. I was really in a bad place. I was struggling with chronic recurring infections. And if you look at the research, you look at, how the body works, the sun kind of regulates your immune system. So me being inside all day was not helping my cause. And once I took my circadian rhythm and my light seriously, my reoccurring infections went away. Okay. So I moved my morning up so I could spend all the way up to 9 o'clock outside, walking, doing like this morning. I just went for a nice walk, my shirt off, about 10 minutes down the road, 15 minutes down the road to the store, walked back. I do that every morning. I go for walks with my shirt off throughout the day. And I know this might be difficult for some people to do, and you just do the best you can. So once you establish the morning and the evening light, then you can start exposing yourself to UV in the afternoon. I think sunscreen, you can get into all the chemical reasons and for all that. I think the big problem with it is it gives people a false sense of security. They put it on, they think they can spend more time in the sun, and they end up cooking themselves. Most Americans will spend all week indoors, and then they will go out on the weekend and spend 4 or 5 hours in the most intense part of the day in the sun. And that's kind of like running a marathon without training for it. That's kind of my analogy on that. So you want to go out, 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever, get your UV, build up to it. What I do is I go out, I'm constantly exposing myself to the sun. Like I'm even here outside on my patio, even though I'm covered, I'm still getting natural light, you know. So in your office, if you can crack a window, one of the things I did in my gym is I left the doors open. I put a red light panel in there, so it wasn't just straight blue light. Blue light on its own never occurs in nature. It's always got red and green and all the different spectrums. Obviously, the intensity of the UV light is a lot lower in the mornings and the evenings. That's why we want to start with that. So it might be as simple as like EMR Tech has a great little red light that I use that I leave on in the background in the evening. I face it away, so it's not, any bright light at night is not good. But the red is more like fire, more like candlelight, so I can see. So when I was in Lexington and I had my gym, I had a giant red light panel that I left on all day. I could have put a couple black bulbs in the ceiling. So if you are, to the point where you can't get outside as much as you like, there's things like the Spurdy vitamin D lamp that you can use that will give you some UV. You can even use a reptile light from a pet store, a brooder light from Tractor Supply is a cheap way to get red light. Saunas in the wintertime, saunas are a great way to get some red light into your life and get more light exposure. So you do the best you can. And that's why the walks are so important. The 10-minute walks 3 times a day, get the light in your eyes, get the light on as much skin as you possibly can. And for example, if you are, basically, if you work during the week and it's very hard for you to get more than just the 10-minute walks, spend as much time as you can outside on the weekends. Spend as much time as you can getting sun exposure in the morning and the evening on the weekends. And that might make up for, what's going on during the week. So it all depends. Some people, they just get outside 10 or 15 minutes a couple times a day, and it makes all the difference in the world for you. Obviously, you can get vitamin D from food, things like fatty fish. That's why these northern cultures, the Scandinavians, the Inuit, they eat tons of, cold fish from cold water, or fish from cold water. That gets them a lot of vitamin D through their diet. So you can add fatty fish into your diet to help you get vitamin D. And you store vitamin D. So that's why, northern latitude, people is you want to get as much vitamin D in the summer as you can, so you have enough to get you through the wintertime. And then you could supplement with, obviously you want to consult a health professional, but you can use things like Spurdy vitamin D lamp and things like that to make up for if you need a little more vitamin D in your life. But the vast majority of people are not going outside at all. And I think that's one of the main drivers towards why everyone is struggling so much. And the hyper focusing on food and exercise, although they are important, it's two factors. But I don't think it's the main factor. I think circadian rhythm and getting outside more is the foundation of everything. If your circadian rhythm is broken, you're going to struggle regardless. And you might even look good, but you're going to end up having some sort of problem eventually. Just type in circadian rhythm, type in vitamin D deficiency side effects, and you're going to see a lot of the side effects that people are struggling with today. Hormone issues, energy issues, digestive issues, sleep issues, you name it, osteoporosis. All these things come from a lack of natural light and a lack of vitamin D. And one of the things I do, like I ride motorcycles a lot, I always carry a long sleeve shirt in my backpack. If I feel like I'm starting to get too much sun, I just put a long sleeve shirt on. I go in the shade. That's really the best way to handle it. There are some zinc-based sunscreens if you do want to use that. I think one of the main mistakes people make, obviously, if you're driving down the road and you can't see, or if you're like, out on the water or you're skiing, you obviously might need some sunglasses, but you got to understand what sunglasses do. Sunglasses tell your brain that it's nighttime, And so your brain doesn't tell the skin to produce all the things you need to protect yourself from the sun, right? And I think melanin is something that a tan is very, very healthy. And this has been downplayed, even demonized. The sun has been demonized. And the more cultures, if you look at countries like England, as they've gotten less sun, their skin cancer rates have gone through the ceiling. Obviously, I'm not an MD. This is my opinion. Do your own research. But as humans have moved indoors, skin cancer has gone through the ceiling. And then because people don't have a good solar callus, that sun exposure in the high afternoon might cause some issues. But I think if you look at a lot of the research, indoor workers have a much higher rate of skin cancer than outdoor workers. So spending more time outside, doing the best you can, and finding the right amount of sun for you. You obviously don't have to move the equator like I have. I think probably I get a little too much sun here. I have to be really careful. It's so intense. I can handle it, but I think sometimes it's a little too much for me. So I have to really mitigate how much sun I get in the afternoons, because obviously as a light-skinned Caucasian, I'm not really set up to handle this much sun, whereas somebody who is dark-skinned can handle the amount of sun. And I think that's one of the biggest issues darker skinned people face. Nobody talks about the fact that they absolutely need more sunshine than somebody who's Caucasian like I am. But you can see by the way my skin looks, we are highly adaptable. So if you start with the right dose, just like in exercise, when I work with somebody, I never put limitations on them, because I know if I start out at the level they're at, I don't know, who knows what they could accomplish, but we just start where they are. And we just slowly build and we slowly build. And that's the way you need to approach most things. Obviously, emergency situations require emergency strategies. We just don't want to be using emergency strategies constantly. So thank you for joining me today. I'd love to have you in the Vitality Brotherhood. It's a free group. There's a link below, or, depending on where you're watching this, the vitalitysisterhood.com for the ladies. And then, of course, the show sponsor is Pharaoh. You can go to pharaoh.shop. You can use the code JIM15 to get 15% off. And that's that. Also, I have a mini course. If you're somebody who's like training already, working out, and you're not seeing results, just go to vitalitybrotherhood.com/results, and you'll get my free course on why you might not be getting the results that you deserve. A lot of people out there, like most of my clients, are clients that are working hard. They've got jobs, they've got careers, they've got families, and they're training, but they're not seeing the results that they want. Maybe their energy levels are low. Maybe their body composition is not where it needs to be, not where they'd like it to be. And they don't understand why they're not seeing results. And a lot of times it's not a matter of working harder. It's a matter of being smarter. And it's a matter of focusing on the things you do outside the gym so you can perform inside the gym. And a lot of people that are hard workers, type A's, have a really hard time understanding that and grasping that. And even when they do, you tell them to go into the forest and cut 2 trees down, and they end up cutting the whole forest down. They're like, I'm here. I've got this axe. I'm bored. I got nothing to do. So I know you only wanted 2 trees, but I figured since they're all here and I've got the time, I might as well cut them all down. So that mentality is pretty much what I've dealt with my entire career, because I fall into that category as well. So thanks for being here today. We will see you tomorrow. Let me check and see if there's any questions on Instagram. Thanks for joining me. You're welcome, Larry. Good to see you, man. So start slow, start where you are, do the best you can, figure out what works best for you. And a little's better than nothing. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You don't have to sell everything and live outside in the jungle. But you do need more light than you probably are currently getting. Have yourself a great day. And hey, get outside today. You deserve it. You would not believe, if you just take 10 minutes 3 times a day to put the tongue in the roof of your mouth, going for a walk, looking at, wherever you are, just getting outside and observing, putting your phone away will make all the difference in the world. Take care.